um, the Pandemic 2009. That was the next movie I watched, and it looked sort of like a DeviantArt bullshit. The sort of a color coordination that you can't really get on models where the sort of paint, the skin paint, and the skin color, each color looks sort of bad. So it adds up to something realistic, but nah. So the pandemic, the disease, they all get in this smallest county in New Mexico. It's actually Loving County. Texas is the smallest county. Um, and it's like a schlocky movie, not very tolerable because the pacing is all like, fucking shit. Driving around, obligatory sort of tension shots like a lot of these disaster movies have, because you're always supposed to get a sense of the domestic and the underside, the vindicating, filial, Shindrig underside, where the military is using this disease to like do stuff. I always hate that in plots where it's like, oh, the plot mechanic of it is like, who the fuck cares? It's not actually interesting to the actual movie. Like, if you're gonna do that, you should do it. You should have the tone right to have that sort of be like, oh yeah, fuck it. Not like, oh yeah, this is a plot mechanic. It's Indians. We're on an Indian burial ground. Oh, this disease is actually being used for this. Because as soon as you do that, it's sort of like, sure, the first time you see that, it's, oh, they're using the disease to fight, like, poor people, the military. But as soon as the second time comes around, it's just, and this movie isn't dumb enough. It's just not dumb enough. Pandemic 2009 has Ray Wise from Twin Peaks. It's, it looks like shit, but it's not actually shit enough. That's my rating out of 10. Of course, I like shitty movies, plenty, versus like the prestige sort, where it's like, oh, it's about relationships and stuff. It's about like fucking, he feels something, but he can't really put it across or something. Like, oh, I wanted to make this art about like mortality. Some shit like that, like fucking, oh, what's that movie with the guy who died in Hunger Games? Then there was also the Stay Out, Stay Alive. Yeah. That's one of those the people in a car are assholes movie. Because it's one of those movies. It's actually they're not filming it themselves, so it's not one of those found footage movies. It's a similar sort of like setup though, because they're just going out camping and they find gold, and it's like, who gives a fuck? What is it? Some fucking like Left Behind, whatever that game was about Wendigos. Both of these set out west with, the Indians and stuff, and both of them not really using the look well. Whereas the Pandemic 2009 looks sort of like shit, so there it makes the setting look good, like Better Call Saul. The left out, Stay Out, Stay Alive kind of looks, there's good shots, but the harsh contrast, like a metalcore band or any metal band, makes this sort of virtuosic parts kind of be like, okay, so you're paying attention to like all this fancy camera glare shit. You're filming the trees artistically, but then the rest of the movie looks like, oh, there's CGI rain, I think. The sort of cave-in doesn't look real. Plot mechanisms, which are just like that sort of Russian montage of filmically manipulated MacGuffins. Yeah. Filmic. Filmically manipulated MacGuffins, which is any horror movie. It's more like a bad special effects movie. That's wow, it's such a novel. Look at the dog. That's a novel fucking subject for something. You just get a camera and your movie looks kind of shit, but it also has shitty effects. So it looks worse than a movie like, I don't know, like Blue Spectrum, Rainbow Spectrum, Primer, which is just very lo-fi, very low effort, but you don't like try to make it look good. Although it had more drive to the plot, I'd argue, or at least I was paying more attention, or at least the characters were more directly involved, which you have the danger of in like a pandemic movie of like, why am I focusing on these protagonists even though they have like nothing to do with finding out about the pandemic, even though they do. But it's like these characters, oh dear, ranting about a movie. What the fuck is wrong with me? There it's like those characters have a bluster to them, I guess I'd say, which people might be like, oh, bearded guy, he's like redhead bearded, and he's like, yeah, that's actually right. And I want to talk about the difference. The difference between them is the lead actress. So the lead actress in Pandemic 2009 is a blonde with her hair pulled back, like Kim in Better Call Saul. So you can tell this character is very serious. This character is like, yeah, mom, yeah. To be a bit of a little cringe. She's a character who you can sort of like universally yes queen, like the Hillary Clintons. Then the character in Stay Out, Stay Alive, worst movie title ever. It's shit. It's also some sort of post-rock metalcore band name. The lead actress is this Asian bitch, coronavirus, I'm racist now, who, you notice this with like Asian women who like grow up in America for whatever reason. Like their faces look somewhat different, like a deal different. And also, she's thicker and what sorts. And of course, you always have to cast the Asian as a nerd. That's my strongly held belief. So this character obligatorily actually has a more conflicted role. She actually shoots this like coven sort of ranger woman who like lets on that she knows about the sort of Indian trap that they're in for. Then she's later found by that same chick's ranger husband, and he's like, oh, let me find her. And she's like, yeah, I can show you where she is. Although she's been thrown into the mine, which has since caved in, but you know, the morality play is in effect, and that's the only sort of interesting morality play there. Otherwise, it's like the Asian chick's sort of like, low T boyfriend, obligatorily for any kind of like slasher movie, is just sort of like, I don't know about this guy who is either gonna be a snake or like some sort of like white knight. That's obligatory. The Asian chick is the only one with like an active sort of role in like, oh, I'm actually participating in the moral play, and after I shot this one person, I'm not gonna fall for anything anymore. Otherwise, they all kind of fall for it, or else they didn't really do anything wrong in the first place. So uninteresting. That's how I'd rate it. And I'm gonna watch more trash movies. Bye.